The house was alive with laughter, golden lights glowing against the evening sky. Ariana stood in the center of the room, her hand adorned with the diamond ring that had just sealed her engagement, too. Ethan Haza, man admired not only for his success, also for his kindness. Friends and family surrounded them, offering hugs and blessings. Ariana's mother whispered proudly, "You've chosen well, my dear. Ethan is a man who will cherish you forever." Ariana's cheeks flushed as she glanced at Ethan, whose steady gaze held nothing but devotion. In the corner of the room, however, stood Clara, Ariana's younger sister. She clapped and smiled as everyone else did, but her eyes told a different story. Behind the practiced grin, a storm brewed. She watched Ariana glowing with happiness, watched Ethan's hand resting gently on her sister's, and felt a sharp sting of envy pierce her heart. Growing up, Clara had always been compared to Ariana. Ariana was the responsible one, the graceful one, the daughter who made her parents proud. Clara, though beautiful in her own right, had always been overshadowed. Tonight, with the spotlight firmly on Ariana, that old wound burned deeper than ever. Clara's friend leaned in and whispered, "Your sister looks radiant." "Yes," Clara replied softly, her voice tight. "Radiant indeed." As the evening wore on, Ethan raised a toast. "To Ariana, the love of my life, and the future we will build together." Glasses clinked, chairs filled the room, and Ariana's eyes glistened with tears of joy. But Clara's heart sank further. Each word, each cheer, was another reminder of what she didn't have. The more Ariana shined, the darker Clara's resentment grew. Later that night, as the guests departed, Clara stood by her window, staring out into the quiet street. Her smile from earlier had vanished, replaced by a cold, calculating expression. "She thinks this is her fairy tale," Clara whispered to herself. "But fairy tales can turn into nightmares." And with that thought, a dangerous seed of jealousy began to take root, one that would soon threaten to tear the sisters apart. Long before Ariana's sparkling ring and radiant smile, the rivalry between the sisters had been quietly simmering. As children, Ariana and Clara were inseparable in appearance, same long hair, same warm eyes, but never equal in the eyes of those around them. Ariana was the perfect daughter, excelling in school, winning awards, and earning admiration at every family gathering. Clara, though spirited and creative, always found herself compared and always found wanting. At birthdays, relatives would gush, "Ariana, you're growing into such a graceful young lady." Then they would glance at Clara with a half-hearted, "And you too, dear." The subtle difference in tone carved deep lines in Clara's heart over the years. She remembered one moment vividly, Ariana winning first prize at a school debate while Clara sat in the audience. Their mother had embraced Ariana with pride, showering her with compliments. Clara had forced a smile, but later that night, in the privacy of her room, she cried. From that moment, a quiet bitterness grew inside her, hidden behind smiles and laughter. Now, watching Ariana's engagement, Clara felt those old wounds reopen. Ethan's presence only magnified her envy. He wasn't just wealthy or handsome, he was attentive, kind, and genuinely devoted. Why, Clara thought bitterly. Why does Ariana always get the best of everything? The night after the engagement, Clara lay awake in bed. The glow of her phone screen reflected in her eyes as she scrolled through photos from the part of Ariana's glowing face, Ethan's protective arm around her. Clara's jaw tightened. "She doesn't deserve this happiness," she whispered into the darkness. "Not after everything. For once, I want to see her lose." Her mind began weaving dangerous thoughts. Small lies, whispered doubts, carefully planted seeds that could grow into chaos. Clara knew Ariana trusted her completely, an advantage she could exploit. For the first time, the jealousy didn't just sting. It gave her purpose. She felt powerful imagining Ariana's smile fading, Ethan's faith crumbling, and the perfect sister finally breaking under the weight of betrayal. By morning, Clara's decision was firm. She wouldn't simply envy from the shadows anymore. She would act. And so, the seeds of jealousy, watered by years of comparison, began to sprout into something far more poisonous. Clara's chance came sooner than she expected. A week after the engagement, Ariana invited Ethan over for dinner with the family. The evening was warm, filled with chatter and laughter. Ariana glowed as she served Ethan a plate of her favorite homemade dish. Clara sat across the table, observing every detail of the way Ethan looked at Ariana with admiration. The way Ariana's hand brushed his arm gently. The sight made Clara's stomach twist with resentment. As the night drew on, Clara seized the moment when Ariana left the room to fetch dessert. She leaned slightly toward Ethan and whispered with a sweet smile, "You really are patient with Ariana. She can be demanding sometimes." Ethan looked surprised. Demanding? Ariana? Not at all. She's wonderful. Clara chuckled softly, as if brushing off her own words. Of course she is. I just mean, sometimes she expects things a certain way. But you'll see for yourself soon enough. She leaned back before Ariana returned, her words hanging in the air like invisible smoke. That was how it began, not with bold accusations, but with subtle hints, tiny cracks in Ethan's perception of Ariana. Over the next few days, Clara carefully played her role as the supportive younger sister. She offered Ariana advice, helped her choose wedding outfits, and even listened to her gush about Ethan. But behind the scenes, she was laying her traps. She dropped small comments whenever Ethan was around. Ariana's always been a little too focused on appearances. She would say casually, or she used to date someone who was never enough for her. I just hope she's different with you. Each remark was laced with poison, yet wrapped in enough sweetness to seem harmless. Ethan didn't say much, but Claire noticed his expression's slight frowns, thoughtful pauses. She knew her words were taking root. One evening, she took her scheme a step further. While Ariana was busy in the kitchen, Clara lingered near Ethan, laughing at his jokes, brushing her hand lightly against his arm. She watched his reaction closely. Ethan politely stepped back, but Clara smiled to herself. She wasn't trying to steal him, at least. Not yet. She only wanted to create confusion, to plant doubt, to shake Ariana's perfect little world. Later that night, Ariana hugged Clara and said warmly, "I'm so lucky to have a sister like you supporting me." Clara hugged her back, hiding her smirk. If only you knew, she thought. I'm not supporting you, I'm dismantling you piece by piece. The wedding preparations were in full swing. Ariana spent her mornings meeting designers, her afternoons finalizing menus, and her evenings daydreaming about her life with Ethan. To her, everything seemed perfect. But to Ethan, subtle shadows had started to appear. It began with hesitation. When Ariana spoke excitedly about a lavish wedding venue, Ethan's smile faltered as Clara's earlier words echoed in his head. She can be demanding sometimes. Was Ariana's enthusiasm a sign of perfectionism? Or was Clara right? The cracks widened one evening at dinner. Ariana was sharing details about her bridal dress fitting when Clara casually interjected, "Ethan, I hope you don't mind if Ariana spends hours choosing every tiny detail. She's always been particular." Ariana laughed, thinking her sister was teasing. But Ethan's expression tightened ever so slightly. Clara noticed. Her poison was working. Days turned into weeks, and Ariana sensed a shift. Ethan was quieter, more distant at times. When she asked if everything was okay, he smiled and reassured her. But she couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. One evening, Ariana found herself sitting alone on the balcony after Ethan left early from dinner. Clara joined her, draping a blanket over her shoulders. "Is everything all right with Ethan?" she asked, her voice dripping with false concern. "I don't know," Ariana admitted, her eyes filled with worrying. "He seems distracted lately." Clara sighed and looked away. I probably shouldn't say this, but Ethan mentioned to me once that he felt pressured, like you expect too much from him. Ariana's heart sank. He said that. Clara quickly shook her head. Forget I said anything. I don't want to cause problems. I'm sure it's nothing. But the damage was done. Ariana sat in silence, doubt creeping into her heart. Meanwhile, Ethan wrestled with his own confusion. Clara's whispers gnawed at him, replaying in his mind at the worst times. He loved Ariana, but for the first time, he wondered if he truly understood her. And Clara? She smiled secretly each night, satisfied as the cracks in her sister's perfect engagement grew wider and wider. The storm she had started was finally gathering strength. Clara knew that whispers and subtle hints could only go so far. If she wanted Ethan to fully doubt Ariana, she needed something bigger, something undeniable. Her chance came one Friday night. Ariana was busy with last-minute wedding arrangements and asked Clara to drop off some documents at Ethan's office. Clara agreed with a smile, but in her heart, she was already planning the perfect scene. Instead of simply handing Ethan the papers, Clara lingered in his office, talking casually. She laughed at his jokes, leaned in too closely, and even touched his hand as she passed him the documents. Ethan, uncomfortable, politely pulled away, but Clara wasn't discouraged. She knew she didn't need Ethan to respond, she only needed Ariana to believe he had. The next evening, Clara set her plan in motion. She arranged for Ariana to meet her at a cafe downtown, claiming she had found the perfect wedding planner. At the same time, Clara texted Ethan from Ariana's phone something she had done before when Ariana left her phone unattended. She wrote, "Meet me at the cafe. Need to talk." When Ariana arrived, she saw Ethan already there, looking confused. Clara sat at a nearby table, pretending not to notice them. Ariana approached with a smile that quickly faded when she spotted another woman leaving the cafe, a colleague of Ethan's, who had been helping him with work. Clara jumped at the chance. She stood up, feigning surprise. "Oh, Ariana, you're here. I didn't realize Ethan would be meeting her here too." Her tone was casual, but the implication was sharp. Ariana froze. Ethan quickly explained, "She's just a co-worker, Ariana, nothing more." But Clara's carefully staged timing made it look suspicious. Ariana's eyes filled with doubt, her heart twisting painfully. That night, Clara added the final strike. She showed Ariana photos secretly, taken earlier that captured Ethan and the colleague talking closely. The angle made it seem far more intimate than it was. "I didn't want to tell you," Clara whispered, pretending to hesitate, "but I thought you should know before it's too late." Ariana stared at the photo, her chest tightening. For the first time, she truly questioned Ethan. And Clara? She walked away from Ariana's room with a smirk of satisfaction. The betrayal was unfolding exactly as she had planned. The days after the cafe incident were heavy with silence. Ariana's once bright laughter had dimmed, replaced by quiet suspicion. Ethan tried to reassure her, but the seed of doubt Clara had planted refused to die. One evening, Ariana sat alone in her room, staring at the photo Clara had shown her. She wanted to believe Ethan, but Clara's words echoed louder. "I thought you should know before it's too late." Her heart was torn between love and fear. That night, unable to sleep, Ariana walked downstairs to get some water. As she passed the living room, she froze. Clara was there, her phone pressed to her ear, her voice low but sharp. Ariana stayed hidden in the shadows, listening. "I told you. It's working perfectly," Clara whispered with a smug laugh. "Ethan is already doubting her." And Ariana, "She's breaking, just like I wanted. She's always been the golden child finally. I'm the one in control." Ariana's blood ran cold. Her breath caught in her throat as she realized the truth. Her own sister had orchestrated everything. Clara continued, her tone filled with venom. She doesn't deserve Ethan. She doesn't deserve happiness. Soon, everyone will see who Ariana really is, or at least, who I want them to see. Tears welled in Ariana's eyes. Her heart ached not just from the betrayal, but from the cruelty in Clara's voice. She pressed her hand over her mouth to keep from sobbing aloud. When Clara ended the call and left the room, Ariana remained in the shadows, trembling. The perfect sister she had trusted, the sister she had shared her secrets and dreams with, had turned into her greatest enemy. But Ariana didn't rush to confront her. Instead, she wiped her tears and whispered to herself, "If this is a game she wants to play, then I'll play too. But I'll play smarter." For the first time since the engagement, Ariana felt a flicker of strength return. She would not let Clara win. Hidden in the darkness of her own home, Ariana made a silent vow. She would gather proof, expose Clara's lies, and reclaim the life her sister tried to steal. The battle between sisters had only just begun. The night of the family dinner was meant to be a celebration of Ariana and Ethan's upcoming wedding. The dining hall was decorated with soft golden lights, the table filled with dishes prepared with love. Relatives gathered, laughing and chatting, raising toasts for the soon-to-be couple. But Ariana's heart beat with a different rhythm. Hidden in her purse was the evidence she had collected over the past week, recordings, messages, and the very phone call she had overheard Clara making. Tonight, the truth would no longer remain in the shadows. Clara, dressed elegantly, floated around the room like the perfect sister. She poured drinks, cracked jokes, and even whispered to Ethan with a smile that made Ariana's stomach twist. No one suspected the darkness beneath her charm. As the dinner neared its peak, Ariana stood up. Her voice trembled at first, but soon steadied. "I want to say something." The room quieted. Ethan looked at her with concern, while Clara's smile stiffened slightly. Ariana glanced at her sister. "For weeks now, there have been doubts, lies, and whispers that nearly destroyed my relationship with Ethan. But tonight, I want to clear everything because the truth can no longer be hidden." She reached into her purse and pulled out her phone. With one tap, Clara's voice filled the room. "I told you, it's working perfectly. Ethan is already doubting her. And Ariana, she's breaking, just like I wanted." Gasps filled the room. Relatives exchanged shocked looks. Ethan's eyes widened as the venomous recording played on. Clara's face drained of color. "Stop it," Clara shouted, standing up. "This is taken out of context." But Ariana didn't stop. She displayed the text messages Clara had sent from her phone, the staged photos, and the lies that matched every crack Ethan had begun to feel. Piece by piece, Clara's carefully built scheme unraveled in front of everyone. Ethan rose from his chair, his gaze locking on Clara with anger. "You tried to destroy the woman I love, your own sister." His voice cut through the stench silence. Clara stammered, tears forming in her eyes. I didn't want to be forgotten. I was always second to her, always in her shadow." But no excuse could erase the betrayal. The family sat in disbelief, torn between pity and outrage. Ariana, her voice calm but firm, ended the storm with one line. "You didn't just betray me, Clara, you betrayed this entire family." The silence after Ariana's words was heavy, suffocating. Every pair of eyes in the room turned toward Clara not with admiration, but with disbelief and disappointment. Clara's hands shook as she tried to defend herself. "You don't understand. I only wanted what she had. I was tired of being invisible, of always living in her shadow." But her voice cracked under the weight of her guilt. The excuses, the jealousy, the desperation, none of it mattered anymore. The proof was undeniable. Ethan stepped forward, his jaw clenched. "You could have had love, respect, and family, but you chose lies and betrayal." He shook his head, his voice hardening. "From this day forward, you will never come between us again." Their parents, sitting at the far end of the table, looked broken. Ariana's mother whispered, tears streaming down her face, "Clara, how could you do this to your own sister?" The room was no longer a celebration, it had become Clara's trial. Relatives murmured in disgust, some shaking their heads, others avoiding her gaze altogether. Clara felt the walls closing in. The attention she had once craved now suffocated her. Instead of admiration, she had gained shame. Instead of stealing her sister's light, she had extinguished her own. Ariana, though hurt, stood tall. "I won't let your jealousy define me. I won't let your lies destroy what I've built. You tried to ruin me, Clara, but in the end, you've only ruined yourself." The finality in her voice was like a verdict. Clara collapsed into her chair, her tears unstoppable now. As the dinner ended, people left in silence, whispering about the shocking revelation. Ethan held Ariana's hand tightly, his faith in her stronger than ever. The family, though wounded, gathered around Ariana, offering comfort and support. Clara was left standing alone in the dimly lit hall, her makeup smeared, her reputation shattered. The plan she had nurtured for weeks had turned into her own downfall. For the first time, she understood the cost of her jealousy. She hadn't torn her sister apart. She had torn herself apart. The days following the disastrous dinner were filled with whispers across the community. Word of Clara's betrayal spread quickly. Neighbors, friends, even distant relatives spoke about the shocking revelation. The girl who once craved attention now received it, but in the worst possible way. Clara found herself isolated. Invitations stopped coming. Phone calls went unanswered, and the very family she had sought approval from now kept their distance. She wandered through the house like a shadow, her laughter gone, her eyes heavy with regret. One afternoon, she mustered the courage to approach Ariana. Her sister was sitting on the porch, sunlight glowing on her face, Ethan's arm resting protectively around her. Clara hesitated, her voice trembling. "Ariana, I'm sorry," she whispered. "I don't know what came over me. I thought if I ruined your happiness, maybe I'd finally matter. But I only ruined myself." Ariana looked at her for a long moment. There was pain in her eyes, but also something softer. She sighed, "Clara, I can't pretend your betrayal didn't hurt me. You almost destroyed everything I held dear." But her voice lowered. "You're still my sister." Clara's eyes widened, tears brimming. You don't hate me." "I don't hate you," Ariana said firmly, "but I can't trust you not yet. Trust takes time to rebuild, and you have to prove that you've changed. Jealousy didn't break me, Clara, it broke you. And I hope one day you'll learn that love, not envy, is what truly makes someone matter." Ethan added quietly, "The truth always rises. Clara, remember that." Clara nodded, tears streaming down her face. She turned away, realizing forgiveness was not the same as freedom. The path to redemption would be long and lonely. As Ariana watched her sister walk away, she leaned into Ethan and whispered, "She tried to destroy me, but in the end, the truth gave me back everything." Ethan smiled, kissing her forehead, "And it gave me the certainty that nothing, not even betrayal, can break us." The sun dipped lower in the sky, painting the horizon with gold. Ariana's heart carried scars, but it also carried strength. And Clara, somewhere in the shadows, carried the weight of a lesson she would never forget. Jealousy destroys, truth heals.